Hello, my name is Julia Ramirez. As stated in the instructions of the activity, I am going to present three situations in secondary school in which I would use three different methods that used to be applied or implemented before the communicative approach. In the first situation, I would like to take into consideration the context of the group. In my high school, students are classified into level groups in second and third of ESO, which means that there are three levels: high or challenge, standard, and low or basic. We assess them and classify them at the beginning of the school year, and we re-evaluate and assess after every term in case we need to make changes. In this case, I would be responsible of teaching the basic level. That means that they have difficulties with understanding English. They often forget elementary rules, such as adding an S to the third person in the present. They also have very low motivation because they think they don't understand English, they aren't capable of speaking. They often refuse or procrastinate when it comes to reading or writing because they need to make greater efforts. That is why I would use the audiolingual method, and I would focus on listening and speaking first. That way, grammar would be introduced through examples and in sentence structures, adapting it to their level and their needs. I would focus on interaction, so they get more and more confident with the language. Another situation would be a younger group, perhaps at first of ESO and at the beginning of the school year. As the students don't often know each other at this stage, it would be a great opportunity to use the community language learning method. They can start to establish relationships and getting to know one another. It is true that at the beginning of the class, I would have to encourage them and motivate them to speak, but the brainstorming and suggesting of topics could be a great way to start the conversation and getting them engaged. It would also be a great way to assess the general level of the students, and as it is recorded, assess as much as possible their individual levels and see whether they are fluent in English, if they attend an academy after school, if their parents speak to them in English, etc. In the third and last situation, I like the idea of being a bit more playful. In this case, I would like to consider a group of teenagers in a class right before the end of the day. It could be right before the lunch break or at 4 p.m. It would be expected that they are tired from the day and from being sat down for hours. We could use the total physical response method to engage and make them participate. We all know that we sometimes have the feeling that it is very hard to have a motivated and engaged class at a certain hour. It could be implemented in a third of ESO class who is learning the vocabulary of films, for example. We could do it by playing charades. The teacher tells a student in the year a type of film genre or an action related to films. For example, performing, filming, directing, etc. And the students has to act and pretend that they are doing the action. The rest of the class has to guess the action, and if they disagree with the way the person mimics, they can prove it. In conclusion, I now see that other methods that we learn in the course prior to the communicative approach can also be used and are actually very interesting to implement in the class, as long as we adapt it to our group and students.